What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, coming at you with a competition prep reverse diet vlog update for week 8. We are 8 weeks post-show, and we are making some progress. This week, my weight saw some pretty significant changes, so let's dive into that. Pulling up the spreadsheet here, we have the week started on the 8th, so January 8th, 2024. I started the week at 161.2 pounds. Just to kind of foreshadow a little bit here, I ended the week on Sunday at 166 pounds. And again, I'm recording this on Monday, the following day, and I actually woke up this morning at 167.5. So real quick, that is quite a bit higher than the goal weight for this week. So what has gone on there? Just to kind of show you some averages here. Concluding week 8, the target weight was 160.4 and my average weight was 163.2. So about 3 pounds over target weight there. But when you look at the fact that Sunday I was 166 and here Monday at the time of this recording I'm 167.5, I'm significantly over that target weight. So what does that mean exactly? My macros going into the week were 200 grams of fat, 190 grams of protein, 15 grams of total carbs, so 2620 on the calories. I had 2 refeeds this week for week 8. On Friday, I had 300 grams of fat, 225 on the protein, and then on Sunday, I was just feeling ravenous, so I had a refeed that I didn't really plan on having at the onset of the week, and that came to 375 on the fat, 362 on the protein. 4,800 calories. So all in all, when you look at the average calorie intake throughout the course of the week, it wound up being about 3,100. The week prior was 2,660. The week before that was 3,300, 3,400, 2,800. So my body keeps kind of naturally gravitating to that 3,000 calorie mark. Now my weight is definitely up right now, kind of in an acute skewed format due to fluid retention. Obviously, if I started the week at 161.2 and I ended the week at 166, 167, that's not just, 6 pounds of body fat or muscle gained in a week's period. I am definitely holding a lot of fluid at the time of this recording, and the reason for that is because I have quite a lot of fluctuation with my electrolytes this week and also the food choices. So this week I had a rotisserie chicken pretty much every single night. This is what my macros look like. I had a brick during the day, and then my evening meal consisted of 1 whole rotisserie chicken. We have found a local producer of pastured poultry, so I wanted to kind of take advantage of the rotisserie device that I have. I've been craving a whole chicken, so I decided to work in a whole chicken to my macros this week. Now, I counted it as 1 whole chicken. I went into my macro tracker. I looked at several different averages of rotisserie chicken macros across the interwebs, Google, et cetera, and most of them were coming to about 162 grams of protein, 53 grams of total fat, and I just threw that in there as the macro target for what I was counting these rotisserie chickens are as. However, the weight of these chickens range anywhere from like 3.5 pounds to 4.9 pounds, so quite a big variation in total macros, obviously, when you're looking at the chicken. And I just counted them all the same throughout the course of the week. That's obviously not going to be as accurate, but it is what it is. This was kind of a good week for me to just relax mentally and eat the same foods consistently, but foods that were going to have more variation in macro value. And that's obviously why my weight has fluctuated as much as it has. Also, the way I cooked this chicken, I didn't weigh out my salt like I have been in my entire prep and reverse up to this point. I just simply found a low sodium seasoning and just covered the whole chicken with the seasoning prior to putting it in the rotisserie. So obviously much less accurate from an electrolyte manipulation standpoint. And again, that is why my weight has shot up quite a bit. And I don't know about how y'all eat your chicken, but I'm pretty much one to eat the collagen, eat many of the bones. Like, I'm eating probably a lot more of that chicken than is actually getting attributed to the macronutrient values. So my intake was probably much higher than this reflects, which is not really obviously accurate, which is kind of the whole point of why I'm tracking everything as diligently as I am. So while I benefited from a psychological standpoint this week, and not really fixating on those macro variations as much, I lost a little bit in simply not getting things as dialed in and as accurate, and my weight has fluctuated as a result. Friday, we had some company over for dinner, so I made Friday my refeed day. I had a steak, had quite a bit of steak. Let's see here. So on Friday, I had 2 bricks that was worked into my macros, and then I had a little bit more steak than I originally anticipated. I had about 20 ounces of steak rather than 14, but that was pretty close to the target goal intake for the refeed day. On Sunday, however, I was just feeling ravenous, and I had no more rotisserie chicken, so I had to kind of scrounge around and figure out what to eat, and I wound up eating a lot of I had some carnivore bars, some carnivore snacks, and all meat and bricks, but things that, are a little bit higher in sodium anyways, which is why I woke up significantly heavier today. So that intake was a little bit higher. That put me at about, just shy of 5,000 calories for the day. Had a bunch of eggs, things of that nature. So felt really good. I honestly feel really good about the way I look. I feel really good about the way I'm training right now. My strength markers have all increased significantly. I hit 385 on my squats the other day on like my 8th or 9th set. So I haven't hit 385 since before the prep even started. So from a strength standpoint, I feel really good about how my body's performing. If I was gaining this much weight and I wasn't seeing a significant increase in strength, then I'm kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and there's no benefit from it. But the fact that my strength and energy and overall recovery has improved quite a bit, it makes it a little bit easier to tolerate that increase in scale weight. That doesn't mean it's easy overall. I mean, when you've spent so many months getting dialed in, losing body fat, seeing increased vascularity from day to day to day, it is hard to see that kind of reverse the other way in this reverse diet, but that's just the nature of the beast. I still wake up in the morning and I have a ton of vascularity all throughout my legs. I actually still have vascularity in my glutes, which is kind of crazy being 8 weeks post-show and being up this much in weight. But honestly, I'm not up that much in weight in the grand scheme of things. I'm about 10 pounds, give or take, over stage weight. The lowest I got in this prep was 151, but I was competing anywhere from 154 to 157, 158, 159. So I'm about 10 pounds over stage weight, which if you look at all the elite level competitors, about 2 months post-show, they're all kind of hanging around that 10 pounds above show weight, which is pretty good. Anything significantly above that is just getting kind of sloppy, and obviously if you're going much below that, then you're not really recovering and upping your calories and going into a reverse diet with the right intentions in the first place. So all in all, I feel pretty good. My weight, like I said, is definitely skewed these past couple of days because of the inconsistencies with the macros and the inconsistencies with the electrolytes. So going into week 9, I'm going to just clean things up, and I'm going to kind of resort back to a ground beef and eggs or ground venison and eggs kind of protocol in which it's easy to track, it's easy to know what the intake is. I'll be able to weigh out my sodium more accurately. I can flush out the excess fluid, and I can kind of figure out what my true baseline is right now. Once the fluid flushes out, I would imagine I'm somewhere probably around 163, 164 pounds. So I hope to see that by the end of this week once things stabilize, but we'll see. I don't really want to get above 170 for the foreseeable future. I would like to end the reverse diet at about 170 pounds or so. Like I said, I feel really good about how I'm looking right now. Still have, plenty of, I've got a lot of fullness in the muscles, but I still have quite a bit of definition still. Speaking of which, let's actually just kind of go to some of these pictures here. So these pictures were taken on Monday, at the beginning of week 8. So again, I was a little bit lighter in these pictures than I am now, but you can see I'm not really suffering too much here. I've got quite a bit of vascularity, quite a bit of fullness, quite a bit of separation in the muscles, and I feel really good about how I'm looking this far post-show. I mean, I've got all that definition and thickness and fullness in the legs now that I wasn't having towards the absolute, low point in my deficit, but I'm still holding on to a lot of that definition and dryness. So I feel really good about how things are progressing there. I had Crystal do some updated body fat measurements via the caliper and just the caliper test and body fat measurements, or circumference measurements rather. On the caliper test, I clocked in at 4.55% via the Jackson Pollock 7-point method. And as far as measurements go, my neck was 14.5, shoulders were 27.25, chest 40, biceps unflexed 14, flexed 15.25, belly button 32, hips 36.5, thighs 22.5, calves 14.5. I did the Inbody both at my gym and at another gym that has the higher end Inbody, and those both showed 3%. Another little foreshadowing here. Monday, so technically the start of week 9, I just did my Inbody, and it shows 3.8%. So my body fat is definitely increasing. I would guess that I'm probably around 5 to 5.5% if I had to put a number on it. Maybe as low as 4.5, but somewhere between that 4.5 and 5.5 range, which again, going into 9 weeks post-show, I feel really good about. This week, like I said, I'm going to kind of return to normal with regards to the food intake, sticking to ground beef, eggs, weighing out the salt, let my body flush out that fluid, kind of track my water intake. Let's see how things stabilize. I am going to be getting updated blood work done probably at the onset of phase 7. So I would like to do another 2 or 3 weeks of phase 6, kind of to establish that baseline and, have 1 or 2 more refeeds in the mix before I let things stabilize. When I look at my spreadsheet here, if my average intake has been kind of around, 3,000 calories, this week I'm at 2,800, just kind of moving things around. This week, actually, week 8, I was around 3,100 with those 2 refeeds. I could see myself probably transitioning into phase 7 once my daily intake is around 3,000 calories. That's kind of where my body's wanting to gravitate to right now. So that's probably what I'll target as the onset of phase 7. But that pretty much brings everyone up to date. I did my cardio, 25 minutes, level 15. That's feeling great. I'll probably hold that constant for the foreseeable future. But that's what we're looking like now from a weight standpoint, from a macro standpoint, from a caloric intake standpoint. Again, I'm not really happy with how much weight or how much water I'm holding on to at the moment as a result of those variations in the rotisserie chicken macros and the sodium fluctuations, but we'll take this week to kind of let those stabilize and figure out where I'm truly at. But again, this is an exercise in mindset. Like, if you can look at the data, if you can feel good about how you are performing and you don't allow yourself to get sloppy, there's no show date looming. So if I'm 167, 166, and my target weight is a little bit lower than that, but everything else is trending in the right direction, that's not necessarily a negative thing. You just don't want to allow yourself to get sloppy. I know that I'm holding several pounds more water than is a true indicator of what my actual weight is right now. So again, I'm probably closer to that 163 mark, which is only a few pounds over the target weight. And again, that target weight was a very conservative target weight. So you just have to kind of weigh out things. Where are you at? Where do you want to be? What is the overall goal and objective of this reverse? What's your relationship with food looking like? I'm excited to take this week and kind of reel things back in and just stick to some basics so I can flush out that fluid. But yeah, don't beat yourself up. Have a good relationship with food. Everything that I've eaten has been really high quality food, so I don't really have any guilt associated with that. Yes, I've had a little bit more of it, but I'm having more of something like beef liver or something of that nature. I'm not going out and binging on a bunch of carbohydrates, certainly, or keto treats even. So making sure that what you are consuming is quality food makes embracing any fluctuations in fluid weight and just changes in what the target scale weight versus what your actual weight is a little bit easier to bear. So that's all I got to say for week 8, ladies and gents. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We will see you next week for week 9.